Do you run out of things to say when you're talking to women? Here are 4 first date conversation topics, plus 1 super important bonus principle that's necessary to create attraction and get her excited about you.
Number 1. Adventures and your life.
Instead of placing the burden of conversation on her and asking her tons of questions, take the initiative and tell exciting stories until she begins investing herself. The benefit of telling stories about your adventures from the past is that if you allow yourself to convey them with a degree of emotional intensity, in other words, you relive them and you embody those emotions through mirror neurons, she's gonna feel similar emotions of fun and excitement. Instead of talking about logical, work-related, boring, soul-deadening stuff, you invite her to experience a bit of the adventure herself through your story. Remember, stories shape the fate of kingdoms. Stories is how we've transferred lessons through generations. Our brain processes stories way better than just pure principles. Stories create emotions and thereby lead to decisions. So have you ever been skiing?
Never.
Never. It's one of the best experiences ever. So maybe I'll teach you someday, if you're lucky. Anyway, so my friends and I, we went skiing many years ago, and usually when you get to a black diamond hill, which is the steepest, you stop, you analyze it, and then you go down. But my friend, he just went out of the lift straight down, so I followed him. Now, he was a better skier than me, so I just went down. In German, we call it Schuss, straight down. You're supposed to go like this, and I just went straight down, and I lost all control. For some reason, I didn't hit an old lady or I didn't hit a child. If I would have hit anybody, I would have died for sure that day. For some magical reason, Jesus took the wheel.
Amen.
Amen or hey man?
Amen.
It's amen.
Amen.
It doesn't have to be anything life-changing necessarily, even though it can be. But you have to avoid negativity at all costs. It has to be a positive story. A super effective question to ask her on a date is, what's the most adventurous thing you did last year? This will make her remember all kinds of exciting things, and she'll begin to associate emotions of excitement and fun with you. You become a primary source of good emotions for her, which is essential. If you reflect on your career or your business progression, there are stories hidden in your past that you've simply never formulated effectively. For example, me saying, so I used to work for technology companies, there's something called a CRM, customer relationship management software. It's pretty advanced technology. A lot of companies across all sectors use it. I could say, so when I went to university here in Ireland, I used to teach karate. And then I started working for some of those tech companies, but I realized I have a bit of a problem with authority. So now I have my own business. You know that whenever you go on a first date, she's gonna ask you what you do for work and how you've gotten there. So you might as well prepare a story and communicate it effectively. Don't make something up that isn't true, but do communicate the parts about you that will build your value in her eyes.
Number 2. Dating and intimacy related things.
Warning, when you talk about more sensual and intimate things, you have to be very calibrated. You have to build the tension gradually. You can't just prematurely escalate. I've seen this with clients from over 30 countries over the years, countless times, where they either don't build any tension at all, or they do so prematurely and in a completely uncalibrated fashion. Also, never ask her about previous relationships or other men she's been with. That's completely uncalled for. But you could ask her, for example, have you ever kissed another woman?
Yes.
Oh, okay. And then build things gradually from there depending on her reaction. You'll be surprised how open women will talk about past adventures or their desires if you smoothly steer the conversation in that direction. But only if you have a frame of complete non-judgment. You can either have a fantastic time with women or you can judge them. You can't do both. And women hate it when they feel like they're being judged by you. And obviously, if she starts exhibiting certain red flags that may indicate she might not make for a great wife in the future, obviously you'll register them and you might not want to meet her again for a second date. But in the moment, never judge her. The conversation has to be completely relaxed, non-judgmental, and fun. Your problem is that you don't understand how different the conversations on a really awesome date are compared to your work or even a normal social occasion. These are 2 completely different contexts. Women aren't on the date for a logical exchange of information. She wants to feel alive, and talking about dating and intimacy-related subjects can help if she's comfortable with it.
Number 3. Your goals.
In addition to having fun, she also has to understand that she has a man of substance in front of her. Your job is not to be a clown either. Part of the first date should definitely be you talking about your goals and your vision Even if you're doing extremely well in your career or your business already, women value ambition more than current success. She has to understand that tomorrow is going to be better than today. Of course, she's going to be excited by what you've achieved already, but by bragging about it, you're going to come across as self-qualifying and like you're trying too hard to impress her. So when you do talk about what you've already achieved, make it seem like it's no big deal. Even better, let her dig. Because if you admit to having achieved certain things in your life after she had to ask for it, it's way more impactful than you just throwing it at her face.
So, what do you do for work?
I have a small business.
Cool. For how long have you had that?
5 years.
Interesting. Only yourself, or you have employees, or?
Yeah, I have like 4 or 5 employees, small team.
Cool.
In German, we say she has to pull it out of your nose. In other words, she has to dig for it instead of you bragging. Bragging is a really unattractive character trait. The beautiful thing about talking about your goals is that you can convey a sense of excitement and confidence, as well as communicate a vision to her, what a life with you would be like. Most men completely fail to do this, as well as everything else we've talked about here today, and then they wonder why they can't get second or third dates, and why women only see them as friends, and why they didn't really feel the spark.
So, what's next for you?
I don't know. Let's see where things go, you know? Maybe expand the business a little bit. To be honest, not too sure yet. Instead, I could say... So at my work, there's this new position that opened up. It's technically 2 levels higher than where I'm at right now, but it would be an amazing promotion to get, and I have to fly to New York for training, but the team is amazing, and obviously there's more responsibilities, and I think it's just going to be a lot more fun than what I'm currently doing. So that's going to be a big project. And also, you know jiu-jitsu, right? Obviously, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, of course. And I want to go for the next belt, right? So that's a big one. I'd say these are the 2 big things that I'm working on at the moment.
That's cool.
Obviously, you'll do that in your own way. Some men like to share more details, some men like to share less. But you have to convey a sufficient amount of information to her so she gets a clear picture of where you're going as a man.
Number 4, your passions and your hobbies.
If you talk about things you're excited about, again, these things will transfer over to her, and it shows to her that you already have a great life without her. You're not just sad waiting around for her to come and bestow a sense of happiness upon you, but you're already doing cool things on a weekly basis. In other words, you already have an exciting life that you can invite her into, even if most of the stuff you do is work and go to the gym, go rock climbing, and CrossFit. Even if you only have 1.5 hobbies, really, that's fine. The more you emphasize that in your communication, the more it's gonna stand out. Remember, the pictures she'll have in her head about you and your life depend on what you say. If you talk about your passion for jiu-jitsu, for going to the gym, and you allow yourself to nerd out about it, not for half an hour, but for a minute, 2 or 3, that will make you come across as incredibly interesting as well as competent. So in my case, it's actually personal development and dating. So I will talk to Fernanda about certain principles of personal development and psychological human needs we have, because that's something I genuinely care about. And that sense of conviction and authenticity will build a lot of trust and intrigue. So just to nerd out about this for a second, okay? We as human beings basically have 6 psychological needs. The first one is certainty, the second one is variety, the third one is a need to be special, the fourth one is love and connection, the fifth one is growing, making progress, and the fifth one is contributing. Anything we do in life is basically just to meet one of those needs. And once we understand that, then we can change the strategy. For example, a lot of people drink alcohol because it makes them feel certain. They get variety, they feel connected to themselves and other people. They also feel special because maybe they can drink more than other people. Maybe they do things in the moment that make them stand out from the rest. Once we understand that, then we can replace alcohol with a much more healthy strategy to meet the same need. And don't worry about coming across as a bit of a nerd, in other words, a subject matter expert. If you convey what you're talking about with enough emotion and conviction, and you believe that what you say has value, she will love it.
The bonus principle.
Relate things to you and her. Don't just stay on the level of the conversation itself, the facts, but relate them to her and you by using phrases like, I bet you, or you look like. So my friends and I went skiing years ago. By the way, you look like the kind of girl who likes being outdoors and in nature as well, and active.
I do.
Or a different example. So I used to work for one of those tech companies, but then I realized I have a bit of a problem with authority, and now I have my own business. By the way, you look like the kind of person who doesn't like following rules either.
No, I'm a wild cat.
That's a bit of a cold read, in other words, an assumption. I know people always say, don't make an assumption. But the opposite is true in a dating context. When you have a question that pops up in your mind that you'd like to ask her, instead of asking her 4 or 5 questions in a row, which is boring, rephrase them every now and then, not all the time, but every now and then into assumptions. Now you might say, David, what if my assumption is wrong? Doesn't matter. It's still way more emotionally engaging for her. And by telling her that she doesn't look like she likes to follow rules all the time either, you're implicitly giving her permission to access the fun and playful side within her. All women have within them the princess and the troublemaker. Depending on how you communicate, you'll elicit either one. You'll have a boring conversation or one that's emotionally engaging and exciting for her. So write down 20 stories from your life, and some of them can even be as short as 10 seconds. But be prepared and your dates will go a lot better. And if you want me to help you personally find the right one in 2024, simply click the link below this video and apply for a free initial consultation call.